Well, it's Domestic and Family Violence Prevention Month. It's a time to raise awareness about an issue that impacts millions of Australians, with around 1 in 4 women and 1 in 14 men experience violence from an intimate partner during their lifetime. There have been some very tragic cases recently that have reignited the national conversation around victim safety and stronger protections. In New South Wales alone, police respond to a domestic violence incident every 3 minutes. Operation Amarok recently resulted in almost 1,000 DV-related charges in just 4 days. So despite growing awareness, domestic violence remains one of the most underreported crimes in Australia. And for many victims, leaving a violent relationship is only just the beginning, with concerns around safety, children, housing, finances and legal support quickly becoming overwhelming. Now, here to discuss these issues through a legal lens, we're joined by Attwood Marshall Lawyers, a family law associate, Breanna Farrell. Good afternoon to you, Breanna.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today.
This is an important thing that we are talking about, because it is one of those things where you often hear people that are leaving these sorts of situations don't have the correct legal support, or indeed the finances or the housing or anything to support them. So I guess if someone feels unsafe or is in immediate danger, what protections are available to them straight away?
My first point of advice is, if someone is in immediate danger, the very first step is to call 000. Police can attend, remove a person from the home or dwelling if necessary, and from there take immediate steps to protect a person at risk. And more recently, from 1st of January this year, police powers have actually extended. So not only can the police issue what we know as a police protection notice, they can also issue what we call a police protection direction, which is a 12-month instant direction requiring the respondent or the person using violence to not commit domestic violence against the victim survivor and any other named person for at least 12 months.
How is a protection direction different to an AVO, for example?
Good question. So the difference is the police protection direction bypasses the court process.
Ah, okay.
So instead of having, a temporary order and then having to go to court straight away, which can, be very distressing, particularly when things move so quickly and there are so many other factors happening in the background, this is an immediate protection direction that can be in effect for 12 months.
Okay. And how, in your experience in dealing with these sort of situations, how easy has it been to attain one of these for victims? Because, going through the court process is daunting, and you're facing up against potentially the person that's putting you through this turmoil. How easy is it to get one of these protection orders?
Very good question again, because the length of time can really vary.
Okay.
And the level of what's easy and what's more difficult can vary, and it's very situation dependent. Mm-hmm. We also find that because the police protection directions are so new, there's a range of boxes that the police need to check to make sure that that is the best course of action for this particular situation. Mm-hmm. But we do find that primarily police response can be quite quick, and when it's necessary and warranted, and there's very clear need to protect a victim survivor, then that process is very easy and very quick.
And I guess that, it's been put into place to have the victim at front and center of this, as opposed to, dragging on the process or whatever. It's making sure that the victim is safe, I guess, in the interim. I guess, for many victims, leaving the relationship is just the start of this process. What legal and practical challenges, I guess, do people face when they leave a violent relationship?
The things that we often see people really struggling with are, one, finding safe accommodation, ensuring children are safe and supported through the process. Not only are we dealing with, accessing finance documents, sometimes dealing with debts, loans, or tenancy and leases, for example. People are often always having to also manage their property settlements, removing personal belongings from the residence. And one challenge that's frequently overlooked is managing that emotional impact of trauma, just as a sheer result of everything a person has experienced while trying to keep everything else afloat.
I guess you've answered the question about immediate danger, what people can do if they find themselves in immediate danger. What about next steps if they are trying to, find accommodation, even if it's emergency? What sort of resources are available? What can people do if they find themselves down this path?
We have some great resources available within the community. One that comes to mind is DV Connect. The second one is 1-800-RESPECT. Now, they can offer some great information, point people in the right direction of how to start accessing community support. In Queensland specifically, we also have the Domestic Violence Prevention Centre. They can assist with safety planning, emergency accommodation, connecting people with any social work, particularly if there's any language barriers or residency issues and things like that. Transport, counselling, and any other referrals. We often find that when we're dealing with domestic and family violence, it really is a team effort, and a coordinated response is so important.
Yeah.
So not only legal help is only one part of the picture, it's all about safety planning and financial support and housing support and that counselling as well.
It does take a very holistic, approach, I guess, in these situations. That they're not easy. I imagine it's quite a legal minefield that you have to navigate. But again, first and foremost has to be the safety of who is ever at the centre of this. How does the court take family violence into account, I guess, when dealing with parenting matters or property settlements? What does the court do to take that into account?
In parenting matters, the court's central consideration, particularly when children are involved, is going to be what is in the best interest of the child or children. Family violence, it can be a key to that question, and it is so highly relevant because the court must consider the need to protect the children and the primary caregiver from any physical and or psychological harm. So when family violence is prevalent in a family law matter and the court is tasked to ascertain what parenting orders should be in place, the court can actually make orders that are designed to reduce risk. So, for example, court may determine that a supervised time order might be more appropriate, or changeovers need to be at a safe location, communication needs to be through an app, or just complete restrictions on contact between a person who uses violence and a child of the relationship. In property matters, the court, there's been some recent changes to our family law legislation, certainly in my view for the better. The court will actually take into account where violence is made and one party's contributions to the relationship are made significantly more difficult. So, for example, if a person continued caring for the children, but there was that economic violence where they were prevented from working or contributing meaningfully, the court does take that into consideration as well.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question about financial control and financial coercion. The abuse has been talked about much more openly these days than I think ever before. What are some examples, I guess, of people not realising that they may be in this sort of relationship as a form of domestic violence that they hadn't really considered?
Yeah, there's certainly a massive, I like to think of it as a massive light being shined on this particular issue. And it's so great that, we are having these discussions as a community as a whole, and our legislators are having these conversations. So economic violence, it often involves one person who uses money, assets, or any kind of financial dependence to exert control of another person. This can include coercing a person to relinquish control over assets or income, removing or keeping a person's property without the person's consent. One we unfortunately see quite often is when one party disposes of property owned by another person or owned jointly with a person. So one person moves out and they say, no, well, I'm selling it. And unfortunately, without an agreement in place or without any orders in place, they're depriving the victim survivor of their assets or of their things. Another nuanced example, which people might not think about, is when you've got someone who withholds essential items that children might need, such as medication or school uniforms for financial gain, or consistently forcing the other parent to have to go to the continued unnecessary expense of having to repurchase or replace these essential items.
And I guess my next question directly related to that, if people are worried that they can't afford legal help, maybe because they've been prevented from having any access to finances, or the finances were controlled by their former partner. What support is available for those people in that sort of situation?
So in Queensland, we're pretty fortunate. We do have legal aid that may be able to assist with not only family law and parenting matters and property matters, but also with domestic violence matters. There are many community legal centres, including the Women's Legal Service, Attwood, so the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Legal Service, the Family Violence Prevention Legal Service, and often there are duty lawyers at courts. I know we have some wonderful duty lawyers at the family court here in Brisbane, and through other registries as well. Some services will provide one-off advice or will actually help with preparing court documents. I know the Women's Legal Service is very good with that.
Yeah.
That being said, there's often what I call the middle class trap. So where a person may not necessarily qualify for legal aid because they may own a joint property or other assets that can disqualify you from obtaining that ongoing legal support. There are also now private funding options that may be available for these types of matters. I know Just Fund is an organisation that assists in those circumstances.
Yeah, we've spoken to the founder of Just Fund. I think it's an incredible service. Obviously, they're providing to help you access legal aid if you need to pay for it. Like you said, if you don't meet the criteria through legal aid, there are some great organisations that are doing stuff to try and get people out of this situation. Look, obviously, it goes without saying that domestic and family violence awareness shouldn't stop when May ends. But it's nice to know that there are resources and people like yourself out there, Breanna, who, can be accessed easily as long as you know where to go, so that you don't feel trapped or unsure when you need to turn for help. Breanna Farrell, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, to shed a bit of light on this Domestic and Family Violence Awareness Month.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Breanna Farrell there, Attwood Marshall Lawyers Family Law Associate.